Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And in this video I wanted to speak with you about the goddess Astarte. Now I'm not talking about Inanna or Ishtar or Aphrodite. I wanted to focus specifically on the goddess Astarte. Now, as you know, Inanna, Astarte, Ishtar, Aphrodite is the same goddess. It's the same channel, it's the same frequency, it's the same energy, but this energy have different faces and different cultures. But in this video I wanted to focus about what we know about the goddess Astarte in particular. So Astarte is a Phoenician goddess. She was also venerated, of course, in Canaan, and she was the goddess of beauty, of war, of fertility, of desire. She was protecting the home, and she was the daughter of El and Asherah. And also, of course, she was the wife of the major god Baal. Her symbols were the planet Venus, pigeons, doves, and she was also represented as a woman with snakes crawling up her feet. In the sky, she was described as the constellation Virgo. Now, the information about the goddess is coming from different sources. She is mentioned in the Ugarit text. She is also mentioned in the Bible. And we also have information about her from the ancient Phoenician writer Sanchuniathon. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Also, we have information about the goddess from the Astarte papyrus. Now, I wanted to make this video because there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of mixed information about the goddess, which is absolutely fine because, again, she's the same frequency and the same energy as Inanna, Ishtar, and Aphrodite. But still, Astarte is a unique goddess that not many people are talking about her. From the Ugarit text, she's mentioned as the consort of Baal and the sister of Anat, the goddess of war. And she's trying to hold Baal from doing some hectic decisions when he's angry. She's trying to calm him down. She's trying to restrain him in a way. And another time she is holding his hand with her sister Anat, so he will not kill the messengers of the god Yam. Like again, she's trying to hold the anger of Baal, and there is also a mentioning that she's getting angry at Baal, that he's killing the messengers of Yam without the war rules. So she's basically supervising justice. Astarte is also mentioned in the Bible. She was the biggest antagonist with the god Baal and all the Canaanite pantheon because the Jewish tradition was against paganism. Also, the cow animal was also sacred to Astarte because she was giving us a lot of food and abundance. Because you can make cheese, you can make butter, you can eat meat, and that was a very important animal in ancient times. So the children of the cow, the small cows, they are called Ashtarot Atzon in Hebrew. And this is basically mean that this is a blessing of Astarte. This is a blessing of abundance and of the fertility of the cow, of the livestock, and of course fertility of the people. Like she was representing all of that fertility and abundance aspect. Now in her worship, it was common to cook some animal in his mother's milk because it was very pleasant, it was making the meat very soft, and this was like a feast and a meal of appreciation to Astarte for her fertility and abundance. Now, this is the reason why the Jewish people are not eating milk and meat together. This is why it is forbidden in the Jewish tradition, only because that in the worship of Astarte it was common to cook meat with its mother's milk. Now it is also mentioned that the king Solomon built a temple to the goddess Astarte in Jerusalem, and it was part of the collective worship in Jerusalem. And that temple actually stood for 300 years until it was destroyed. So I'm not making this up, you can look all of this information. Also in her worship, it was very known that the ritual of feeding doves and pigeons was very common. So every time that a person is feeding a pigeon or a dove, we can see it as a symbol of worshiping Astarte or appreciating the goddess. Also, it is mentioned in the Bible that there were a family gathering and a family ritual for the goddess Astarte. So the boys and the fathers were collecting woods for the fire, they were making the fire, and the women were doing some dough and making some cookies to the Queen of Heaven, and also gave her drinks and offerings. So this was a typical worship of Astarte, and it's mentioned in the Bible. So from all of that information, we can understand that this is a very productive goddess. She is bestowing abundance, fertility, wealth, happiness on the people. She's protecting the people. She's also brings us the aspect of beauty and womanhood. So I think personally that she is amazing goddess, and I will talk about her in many videos because she is my matron goddess and I love her very much. We have the information that Astarte, Ishtar, Inanna, that goddess is connected with sacred prostitution. I have a lot to say about this subject and I'm going to speak about it in my next videos, but I have to tell you that it's not validated by science. There is no evidence that the priestesses of Astarte were practicing sacred prostitution. There is no evidence. All the information that is coming is from the enemies of that particular religion. We do have the information of sacred sexual rituals, but it does not mean that it is connected to prostitution. There is also information about the goddess from the writings of San Cunation, and in those writings she is mentioned as the wanderer of the world, and she was consecrating a falling star in Sidon. So she have also the aspect of the stars and galaxies, and it seems like she is the goddess of the stars, and her name Astarte and Ishtar, star, is really coming from this depiction. Also, San Cunation is writing that she is representing the face of Baal. So basically, she and Baal have a sacred mystery of fertility and manifestation, and she is the feminine aspect of Baal. She's the goddess of fertility, of justice and order. Astarte is protecting women, and we also have the word estrogen from the word Astarte. It is representing female. So she's holding all the female energies. She is Mother Earth, she is Mother Sea, she is Queen of Heaven, she's the goddess of the stars. She basically holds in her a lot of aspects. She's nurturing, motherly, she's a wanderer, a traveler, and she brings us the mystery of fertility and abundance. In the Astarte papyrus, she is mentioned as a goddess that was supposed to get married to the god Yam. God Yam is the god of chaos, and Astarte is a goddess of order because she is the consort of Baal, so they represent order and structure. But now in this papyrus, we see that she needs to be involved with chaos. So this is a very beautiful story. You can look it up. Basically, she had to get married to Yam. She did not want it to do that, but in order for her to save the gods, she had to do it. Because the god Yam, the sea god, was very arrogant, and he wanted that the gods will pay him a lot of gold, and he wanted a lot of gifts, and he was threatening them that if they will not give to him everything that he wants, he will basically destroy everything. He will destroy them, he will destroy the earth. So the gods were afraid of him. And Astarte was playing as a mediator. She accepted that offer and she married Yam. That was the negotiation. Yam said that if you want that I will leave you alone, I want to marry the beautiful Astarte. Now the meeting of Astarte and Yam is also very interesting. You can read this. Basically, we don't understand if the god Yam is mocking her or he's just saying what he's saying. He basically sees her sitting on the shore. She came to him and he's mocking her like, "Oh, Astarte, the daughter of Ptah, the angry and furious goddess, why your sandals and clothes are ripped? Are you tired from coming and going from the sky and earth?" And from here we can understand that Astarte is a mediator god. She is coming and going from the sky to earth. So she can be as a patroness goddess for human beings. And this is very interesting because her sister Anat is the patron goddess of human beings. And Astarte and Anat, they are basically again the same goddess, but Anat is a more warlike goddess and Astarte is more of a beauty and fertility goddess. But they basically represent the same energy. So here we see that maybe Yam is mocking her, maybe he's not mocking her. We don't have the answer of Astarte because the fragment is gone, it did not survive. Then she's getting married to the god Yam and she's becoming powerful goddess that everyone is worshipping her and paying a lot of respect to Astarte. So from this story we can understand why Astarte is connected to the sea. Now it can be one of the reasons. It can be that she's married to the god of the sea. Now she has control over the sea. And it also can be that because she's a mother goddess and sea and earth are a very feminine energies. Now I gave you all the information that I found from different sources. And I wanted also to mention something. Astarte is a very, very interesting goddess. She is the goddess of the Phoenicians. When I researched more about the Phoenicians, I found out that they're actually coming from the Persian Gulf. There is some information that I found that the Phoenicians came from the Tarut Island in the Persian Gulf. Now, Tarut Island is named after the word Ashtarut Island. And its name is coming from the goddess Astarte, of course. Ashtarut, Astarte, Ashtart, Athart, it's all the same. And we can see that she's associated with the sea. Also, as the goddess Inanna is also connected with the sea. So Astarte is basically representing the beautiful aspect of the sea, the womanhood aspect, the calm sea, the abundant sea that is giving us fish and food. She's calming the sea just as her husband Baal. As I mentioned earlier, she's also the goddess of the stars, and she was helping the Phoenicians to navigate the seas. I will talk about the Phoenicians in my later video, but I wanted to make you understand that Baal and Astarte are very beneficial gods to the sea people. As you know, the Phoenicians traveled to many countries. They were very advanced in technology of the sea. They knew how to navigate. I always wonder how the hell they knew how to navigate at sea. The sea is a very dangerous place. The waves are horrendous. You can even watch today what is happening at the sea. Like the storms and the waves are very, very high. So, how those people in ancient civilization knew how to navigate the sea? So they definitely knew some information of how to navigate the seas according to the stars. And was the aspect of the goddess Astarte and Baal, of course, because Baal gave them the protection over the sea, because Baal won the sea god Yam. So those two gods were very, very beneficial for all the Phoenician civilization. Now remember that many other cultures wanted to have a piece of the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians basically were sitting in today's Israel and Lebanon and Syria, and they were influenced by Egypt, and they were influenced by the Hittites in the north, and also by the Mesopotamians, by the Assyrians. So they have to survive the influence of those nations. Now, we do have mentioning of Astarte in Egypt. They represent her as the daughter of Ptah and as the consort of the god Set, which they associate with the god Baal. And in Egypt, she was the goddess of horses and chariots, which is also understood because she has this aspect of a warrior goddess. And she was associated with horses, chariots, and war. Now, for the most interesting part, I wanted to say that why the goddess of love and fertility and abundance have to do with war. Basically, the goddess Astarte is the goddess of desire. She is the goddess of energy and power, of this first spark of life. She is the goddess of fertility because in order to fertility to happen, in order for life to occur, you need this drive, you need this spark of energy, you need this push. This is why she's the goddess of war and love and fertility. She gives us life force. She gives us power. She is a very, very powerful goddess. She teaches you how to appreciate life. She can give you a lot of energy and power to move forward and to realize your manifestations. So this is not some small goddess. This is not some goddess that should be forgotten, and she will never be forgotten because she was the main energy of the Near East. If you will look at all of the cultures in the Near East, in the Levant, you will see that the goddess Astarte, Ishtar, Inanna, is the greatest goddess of all. She's the goddess of war and she's the goddess of love. She is also the goddess of political power. She gives victory. She is this spark of life. Later on, the Greeks adopted Aphrodite. And as you know, in the Greek mythology, Aphrodite is a foreign goddess that is coming from the east. She is basically Astarte Ishtar. But the Greeks did not want to make her a war goddess. So they basically took that aspect away from her because they already have the god Mars, the god of war, and they wanted to left Aphrodite only with the gentle aspect of love. Now this is in the Greek tradition. In the Near East tradition, goddess Astarte is a loving and a furious goddess at the same time. Now if you want to work with that energy, you have to be prepared for many, many changes in your life. This is not a light goddess. This is not an energy of only, patting you on the shoulder. The energy of Astarte will invoke anger of aggression in you. So you need to be prepared. If you have issues with that emotion, if you have issues with anger, with desire, she will teach you how to deal with it in any way possible. If you want to work with that goddess, it's not an easy ride. You have to be a very, very strong person. So you need to understand whether this energy is for you or not. I don't want that people will be confused that Astarte is this, motherly, loving energy. Yes, she have that aspect, but you will have to go through hell. You will have to go through a lot of psychological therapy in a way with yourself and dealing with a lot of chaotic forces in you in order for you to grow. This is a very powerful goddess. So, guys, if you want to work with her, I wish you good luck, but be prepared. It's not going to be an easy ride. First of all, you need to be a person who accepts that anger and war and victory is part of life. You need to be accepting that. You need to be prepared for this. I will talk more about her worship, about her cult in later videos, and I also wanted to mention that Astarte is a form of Atargatis, which is a Syrian goddess. She is a mermaid goddess, and she was worshipped in Ashkelon in Israel and also in Syria. This is a type of Astarte, and this goddess, the Atargatis goddess, this is a form of a very feminine, feministic aspect. In that cult of Atargatis, men had to castrate themselves. So that aspect was the feminine aspect of Astarte. Like if a man wanted to worship her, he had to castrate himself. You can look this up. I'm not, inventing this. I just wanted to make the information about Astarte very clear. So in that aspect of Atargatis, she can be a goddess of feminists, of woman power, of being independent, powerful woman, of being some Amazon. Which, speaking of the Amazons, I want to take your attention now to Northern Africa, to the goddess Tanit. Now, as you know, the goddess Tanit is a Phoenician goddess as well that was worshipped in Carthage. And she's basically the same as Astarte. This is another aspect of the goddess, but she was worshipped in Carthage. And there are evidences of the Amazigh people, the Berbers in North Africa, that they used to worship the goddess, and there were also a lot of Amazons in that area. Now, Amazons are coming basically from the Scythians, but we can see that there is some mythologies about Amazons in Northern Africa, which is very interesting. And there is a connection between the word Amazigh and Amazon. And also you can look it up that those cultures, the female is very dominant in their society. She have a lot of rights and she's ruling the society. You can look this up. I'm not inventing this. And I'm talking about the pre-Islamic North Africa. Now, of course, everything is mixed. There also have Muslims. If we will talk about their pagan origins, we will see that the woman is very, very dominant. Now, regarding offerings to the goddess, I think this subject should be very individual. It should be between you and the goddess. I cannot put my opinion and tell you what to bring to the goddess, because you need to know this information from your soul, from yourself, and you know what is best for you. But overall, she's a goddess that demands respect. You need to venerate her. If you're going in the path of Astarte, you need to give her offerings, you need to give her drinks. Wine is very good, milk, pastries, some fruits, meat. And I mean, you can see for yourself what is the messages that you are receiving. Also, she really likes roses, she really likes flowers. You can put the flowers on her altar, but you know what? I want to talk about the worship of her in maybe another video. I don't want to mix all of those things. So I think I gave you a lot of information. You can look it up, spread the word. If you're going to worship this magnificent goddess, please do it in a very intelligent way, because I see a lot of information online that is not really deep and it's not really give justice to the goddess. So look it up, take all of those sources and venerate her in a very respectful way. So thank you for watching. You can follow me on Instagram on magicalkey666.